Hello and welcome to this video, part 1, which is on the sword. I would like to split this video down to two parts. I want to chat about it in my living room, and welcome to my living room. And part number 2 of this video will be outside. I'll give you a practical demonstration outside and tell you some other things. Now, I would like to show you how I was taught to use a sword about 15 years ago by my instructor. And I would like to share this with you today. Now, there's lots of ways you can draw swords and do things. But I would like to show you, this is the way that I personally do it and how I was taught to do it from my instructor. Now, the sword. Okay, I've got a bock in here today, so I'll do it with this one. Right, the first thing you need to think about is when the sword's in your belt, where the blade's facing. Now this is basic. Now, but the blade should face the heavens, it should face up. Alright, now there's a number of reasons for this. But just for the moment, the blade faces up. Alright? Now, we'll talk about the thumb. What does the thumb do? Now the thumb, there's multiple rows. Now the thumb can be put on top here on the suba, on the guard, to stop people from drawing the sword away if you're trying to pinch it off you. And you can use it for striking them as well when the sword is inside your belt. Now, there's another reason for it. It aids you when you're drawing the sword, because you push the sword out like so, with the thumb. So the thumb is in lock position, like so, like here. Then as you push it, the thumb comes up, so it doesn't cut your finger, and it comes over the top, like so. And it releases, like that. Now, depending which way you're going to cut is which way you turn the scabbard, so the blade is facing which direction. So if the blade is always facing up, you know which way the blade's facing. Now this is how I particularly draw the sword, and there's lots of ways of doing this, but this is how I do it. Now, because I tend just to use the webbing here, this part here of my hand, to draw the sword. Now the reason I do this is because I want to draw the sword lightly, so I can tell when the tip of the sword is coming at the end of the scabbard, so I don't cut my hands. Now if you continually draw the sword and the tip of the sword just keeps scraping the end of the scabbard as it comes out, and you're going to cut through the scabbard, and in time you'll cut through your hand, because it will come out the scabbard and cut through your hand. Now the reason why I draw it lightly is because I draw it, I pull it out, like so. Now when it drops out the end, I can then turn it, alright? Because I know it's out of the scabbard without looking at it. Now, also, it's very light on here, so you're letting the sword actually travel on its own accord down through the scabbard. So I'm not forcing it by gripping it and trying to yank it, which means it slows down your draw, it slows down your Kenjutsu if you like so. So the thumb flicks the sword out, like that. Like that. And as you do it, you pull it at the same time, so it's like that. Like so. And it comes out. Right, next thing is how you actually hold the sword. Now, how I particularly hold the sword is I don't hold it right up against the suba like that. Now the reason for this is because if your hand is right up against the suba, like so, and something very heavy hits here, like a naginata or a yari, or someone with a bow staff using a taijutsu behind it and the weight behind it correctly, it's going to hit this very hard. As it travels down, it hits the suba here, and you get what they call shock in my experience. And it travels down your fingers or your knuckles, and it can make you release the hand, or in worst case, it can break bones here. So what I tend to do, and how I was taught to do this, is I have, depending on the length of the handle, I have it 1 to 2 fingers away from the suba, from the guard here. Now this gives you a couple of advantages, if you like, in combat. Because one, the grip is further down the handle, which now gives you extra reach on the sword, so it gives you the extra inch or half inch on the end here. Now women are always telling us, men, aren't they, an inch makes a difference, where in this case, an ancient Japan, it could possibly save your life. Now, what it also does, it gives you flexibility with the sword. So if you've got it all the way up here on the suba, you've got less flexibility in the wrist here. So what you're doing is you're restricting yourself. So just off the handle here, is how I specifically use it myself. Now, the bottom hand. Now the bottom hand, as I was taught to use it, is the little finger rests like so on the bottom. And it gets wrapped around, so you're basically almost holding the sword like that, with the little finger. Now you're not gripping on for dear life. What you're doing is you've got relaxed grip. But, the only time you really grip it firmly is when you're parrying the sword. Okay? The rest of the time you want to be quite relaxed with it, because your relaxation will make you quicker, and it also enables you to turn the blade, because you don't really want to be parrying anything with the blade edge. You want to be looking at the side of the blade or the back of the blade. Alright? Because if you keep parrying with the blade edge, you're going to blunt it, and you'll be, basically it'll be just like a baton. You'll be hitting them with a baseball bat or something like that. It won't be a sword anymore. Alright? Now the reason why you want to protect your blade edge is because when it gets to pushing and pull cutting. Now pushing and pull cutting. Now the sword, when you push down with a sword, it won't cut your hand. Now the only time it cuts your hand is when you pull it or you push it. So in other words, what you want to do is you want the sword to sort of do what it's designed to do without using your strength, by just using your taijutsu. Now as you move through your taijutsu, I will naturally see yourself pushing and pull cutting. Now, so ancient times on the battlefield, you want to be able to reserve your energy, because if you've got no energy to fight with, you're going to get killed by the next person that comes along, aren't you? So what you want to do is reserve your energy. Now, how I specifically reserve my energy is how the bottom of the sword here is held. Now as you cut with the sword, this one here stops it. Now I'm not using my strength to stop it, I'm using my relaxation and my breathing to stop it. So as it comes, I just breathe out with the cut, and it just stops. So you can stop it exactly where you want to stop. Like so. Alright? So basically, this here is the power hand. Like in your car, this is the accelerator of your car. And this is what gives you the power. And this here is like the steering wheel. This enables you to steer the blade to wherever it wants to go. Which side of the neck you want to attack, which part of your 8 strikes is good. When you turn the blade for a ski, like so, so it hits the rib cage and turns and goes in the rib cage until you get into the organs. So here, you turn it like that. With the end, with a little finger on the end here. Okay, I think that's just about covered the basics of the sword and how I use it. I'll now go outside and I'll give you a practical demonstration, and I'll see you in a moment.